health sector has joined hands with government in administering the COVID-19 vaccine. This is to try and fast-track the rollout of the vaccination. At least 9 Mediclinic facilities are allowed to vaccinate people over the age of 60. Now, if you missed the update earlier, over 282,000 first doses of the Pfizer vaccine have been administered. And let's find out where we are on the rollout as far as Mediclinic is concerned. Dr. Gareth Villiers joining us here on the show. Dr. Villiers, always a pleasure speaking to you. And hand in hand, you are working with government to try and fast-track this. Just give me a sense, briefly, if you can, what that looks like from a practical sense. Are you guys on top of being able to do this?
Good morning, Gareth. We definitely realize that we have to ramp up the number of people we vaccinate per day to get to the numbers needed by the end of this year. For that reason, we have indicated that we will start as soon as possible in some of our facilities, and you indicated 9. We've since then added a 10th hospital. Unfortunately, we are still waiting for vaccine deliveries, which is expected today, so we plan to start tomorrow at 7 of those 10 sites. The other 3 will only get vaccines next week. We can ramp up to 43 sites across the country, and we plan to reach 10,000 doses a day if we can get enough vaccines available across the country. And that was really where we think we can play a major role. Our major holdback at this stage has been still delaying the vaccine delivery, and as I said, we expect that to happen today at 7 of those 10 sites.
Let's talk a little bit, if we can, Dr. de Villiers, about the delivery of the vaccinations. I'm fairly certain that as Mediclinic and working alongside government, you might be able to help South Africans understand where are we in the delivery of this. We're all throwing around these numbers of vaccinating 10,000 people a day, being able to get to herd immunity within the next year or 2 years. How realistic is that?
It is certainly possible. We looked at what happened during the eNCA trial with the healthcare workers, how we rapidly escalated and ramped up sites and got vaccines into arms. It is possible to do. If you think that we need to vaccinate approximately 40 million people by the end of the year, it depends on how many days a week you work and how the vaccine supplies, but we need to get to 150,000 doses more or less a day to achieve that. And in the planning sessions I saw for B4SA, it is possible. The commitment from the private sector, the commitment from the government is there to reach that capacity with vaccinators, administrators. The main thing holding us back at this stage is the number of vaccines available. That will probably change dramatically if the J&J vaccine is released back into the market. As you know, it's being held back by the FDA and a few other regulators due to concerns that has to be resolved first. But as soon as that is resolved and is released into the market, we will have a lot more vaccines to be able to vaccinate much more widely. Yeah,
you took the next question out of my mouth. I was about to ask you how much of a difference would J&J make, but Doctor, you've answered that for me. So let me ask you about the financing of this, if it's not too forward. We've been hearing from 1 or 2 smaller clinics those last few days that they're concerned about carrying the cost of the vaccines and the vaccinations. How much of an issue is that for Mediclinic? Where are the costs being shared here? Where I'm trying to go to this in my last question is there's also concerns around patients who are not on medical aid being able to pay for these vaccines. Final question to you. How does it look for Mediclinic?
Yeah, I think I will be better positioned to answer you next week once we've run the sites a few days. But certainly, as we understand it, the EBDS scheduling system will push funded people or medical aid people to private sites, and the government patients without medical aids will be pushed to public sector sites. The mechanism for refunding the private sector for vaccinating people without the medical aid is not completely clear at this stage. There's a lot of movement in the application, and I think it will be firmed up in the next few days. But I can understand that the smaller sites are concerned about the cost of that because it is an expensive vaccine. But I'm sure that we will find a way to resolve this, where we all need to work together to vaccinate as many people as possible. And if there are some private sites doing this service, I'm sure that the mechanism will be worked out how to refund them for this.
Yeah, that's become a bit of a talking point over the past few days, but I appreciate your honesty in coming back to us. Perhaps next week, Dr. Gerrit de Villiers, you and I chat again to see how the finances are looking for the various patients. Always a pleasure. Mediclinic's Dr. Gerrit de Villiers.